I found out my wife was cheating, and it's worse than I thought. Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd be one of those guys, pouring his heartbreak onto the internet for strangers to dissect, but here we are. I don't know if I need advice, validation, or just a place to scream into the void. Maybe all three. I guess I should start with the basics. My name's Mike. I'm 34, been married to my wife, Emily, for 7 years. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always thought we were solid. At least, I thought we were. Turns out, I was a goddamn idiot. I work in IT, which means long hours, sometimes weird schedules. Emily is a freelance graphic designer, so she works from home most of the time. It's one of the things I love about our setup. She had the flexibility to do what she loved, and I brought in the stable paycheck. It worked. Or so I thought. Looking back, I can't believe how blind I was. The signs were right there, and I just ignored them. The first sign. It started small. Little things. Emily had always been pretty affectionate, the kind of person who'd text me randomly during the day just to say she missed me. But a few months ago, the texts got shorter, less frequent. I'd send her something sweet, and instead of her usual playful responses, I'd just get a dry thanks or a thumbs up emoji. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Freelancing isn't easy, and she'd mentioned a difficult client. So I let it slide. But then came the late nights. Emily rarely worked late. She liked her routine, coffee in the morning, work through the afternoon, then dinner together. But suddenly, she had projects that kept her up till 2 or 3 a.m. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to find a bed empty, only to hear her whispering on the phone in her office. She'd always say it was a client call. Different time zones, she told me. You know how it is. And yeah, I didn't know how it was. Except, Emily never worked with international clients before. I remember one night when I got up to grab some water and passed her office. The door was cracked open just enough for me to see her sitting at her desk, laptop open. She was smiling. Not just any smile, the kind of smile I hadn't seen in a while. The kind of smile she used to give me. And then she laughed. This soft, almost shy laugh. The kind you give when you're flirting. Something in my stomach twisted. I could have walked in right then. I should have. But I hesitated. My brain screamed at me, she wouldn't do this to you. You're overthinking it. So like an idiot, I just stood there in the dark hallway, gripping my glass of water, while my wife giggled on the phone with someone who sure as hell wasn't me. The second sign. Things only got worse from there. Emily became more distant. The way she talked to me changed. She wasn't unkind exactly, but there was this emotional wall between us. Conversations felt forced, like she was just going through the motions. I started testing her in little ways, asking her if she wanted to go out for dinner, suggesting a weekend trip. But every time she had an excuse. I have too much work, or I'm just really tired. One night, I suggested watching our favorite show together, something we used to do all the time. She hesitated, then said, "Actually, I already watched ahead a little. I hope you don't mind." That's when I knew. She never did that. Watching a show together was our thing. She always waited. Always. Forced a smile. Oh, no, that's fine. But inside, my heart sank. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't the type to snoop through her phone or her laptop. I trusted her. Or at least, I had trusted her. Until the night everything changed, the text that shattered everything. It was a Wednesday. Nothing special about it. I got home from work, and Emily was in the shower. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. And then it buzzed. I don't know why I looked. Maybe because she'd been so secretive lately. Maybe because some part of me already knew what I was about to see. It was a notification from WhatsApp. A message from someone named A. Just 2 words. Miss you. My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. My hands were shaking. Every part of me was screaming, don't do it, don't unlock her phone, don't go digging. But I had to. I swiped. And what I saw, it changed everything. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the phone for a long time, trying to process what I was looking at. The message was from a man named Adam. Just 2 words, but they were enough to send my entire world crashing down. I should have been angry. But at that moment, I was numb. I couldn't move, couldn't think. All I could do was replay those two words over and over in my head, miss you. A simple phrase, but it carried so much weight. I unlocked her phone and dug deeper. I knew I was crossing a line, but I didn't care anymore. I had to know. I had to see the truth. There were more messages. Long threads of conversation, filled with flirtation, inside jokes, and plans. Dinner dates, late-night phone calls, a weekend getaway. I wasn't just looking at a text message. I was looking at the proof of betrayal. Emily, the woman I'd spent the last 7 years of my life with, was having an affair. I scrolled through the messages, and the more I read, the more my stomach twisted. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't find the energy. The words blurred in front of my eyes. I felt betrayed, foolish, but most of all, I felt broken. Adam wasn't just some random guy she met at a bar. No, he was someone she worked with, a guy she had been spending time with. Someone she knew well enough to joke with, to laugh with, to miss. And here I was clueless, thinking everything was fine. I felt like I was suffocating. Then the messages revealed something even worse. She was planning to meet him. The weekend trip they were going on. A hotel reservation. The final step in their secret life together. I threw her phone down on the couch and walked outside. The night air was cold against my skin, but it didn't matter. Nothing mattered anymore. I couldn't stay there. Not with her. Not knowing what I knew. I thought that once I made the decision, it would feel like some kind of relief. I'd be free, right? But the reality hit me like a truck. I felt hollow, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. She cried, begged, tried to make excuses, but I didn't care anymore. Her excuses weren't enough. She had betrayed me, betrayed us, and no apology would ever fix that. The days following the confrontation were a blur of anger, disbelief, and a strange numbness I couldn't shake. I had seen the truth, but it felt like I was still waiting for it to sink in. Every moment of the last few years replayed in my mind, tainted by the realization that my wife, the woman I trusted, had been lying to me the entire time. I moved out within days. I didn't want to stay in a house we had shared for 7 years, not with her there. It felt like an open wound that wouldn't heal. So I packed a bag, grabbed a few essentials, and went to stay with a friend. I don't know if it was my pride or my desire to just get away, but I didn't even tell Emily where I was going. She tried calling me a few times, but I didn't pick up. I couldn't face her. Not yet. Not when I was still so raw from everything I had learned. The first few nights on my own were hell. I couldn't stop thinking about everything she had done. The way she smiled at him, the secret plans, the lies she told. Every moment we had shared now felt like a performance, a show for my benefit, while she was already living a life with someone else behind my back. But the worst part wasn't the anger or the betrayal. It was the loneliness. For the first time in years, I was completely alone, and the weight of that isolation crushed me. I missed her, the real her. The woman I had married, the woman I thought I knew. But deep down, I knew that version of her didn't exist anymore. She was gone. I tried to distract myself. I threw myself into work, into hitting the gym harder than ever, and into spending time with friends who had reached out. They knew something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to talk about it. It was too painful, too embarrassing. The divorce process. A week later, I hired a lawyer. At first, I thought about trying to sort things out with Emily, but deep down I knew there was no going back. The trust had been shattered beyond repair. It didn't matter how much she apologized or begged. What she did was unforgivable. The lawyer was calm, professional, and blunt. She told me that because we didn't have children, the divorce process would be relatively simple. But that didn't mean it would be painless. We went over everything, our shared assets, the house, and the money. It was all about minimizing the damage, especially with the financial situation. Emily had used our joint account to fund her affair with Adam, something I had only begun to realize fully. It stung. All of it. I never once thought about going after her for revenge or trying to get back at her. I wasn't interested in playing games. I just wanted out. I wanted to move on with my life, and I needed this part to be over so I could start healing. But even as I prepared for the financial side of the divorce, there were still moments when I wondered if I was doing the right thing. There was a part of me, some small, desperate part, that still wished I could fix things. that still wanted her to be the woman I had loved. But then I'd remember the texts, the late-night phone calls, the lies, and I'd snap back to reality. The final confrontation. A few days later, Emily reached out again. She wanted to talk. I could have ignored her completely, but there was a part of me that wanted to hear her out. Not for reconciliation, but just for closure. Maybe I was a fool for even considering it, but I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop. When I saw her, my stomach twisted. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her face was pale, her eyes red and puffy. I had to admit, a small part of me felt sorry for her. She was going through the same emotional roller coaster I had been on. But that pity faded quickly. We sat across from each other, a table between us, and I waited for her to speak first. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened, Mike," she said, her voice low. "I'm so sorry. I know I messed up, but I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I looked at her, feeling nothing but indifference. "But it did. You chose this. You chose him." She flinched, and for a moment I saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes. "But it didn't last. I was lonely, Mike. You worked all the time. We barely spent time together. And I found someone who listened to me, who made me feel wanted. I never meant for it to go this far." Her excuses were hollow. I had heard them all before. Lonely, misunderstood, trying to fill a void. I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her anymore. Her actions were her choice, and they had consequences. I took a deep breath and said, "Emily, I can't do this. I can't fix this. You've already made your choice." "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "Please, Mike. Please don't leave me." I stared at her for a long moment. My heart ached, but it wasn't for her anymore. It was for the person I used to be, the one who trusted her, who believed in us. That person was gone, and I couldn't bring him back. "I'm done," I said quietly. "I want a divorce. I want to move on with my life." She broke down in front of me, sobbing uncontrollably. And for the first time in our entire relationship, I felt nothing. After that, everything moved quickly. The divorce was finalized within a few months. We split up our assets, and I made sure I had the house, the car, everything I had worked for. But I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted her out of my life. It was hard at first, not because I wanted her back, but because I was still dealing with the emotional fallout. I couldn't escape the memories of what we had, the life we built, the dreams we shared. It all felt so empty now. But then something amazing happened. I started to heal. It didn't happen overnight, but every day felt a little easier. I spent more time with friends, I focused on my career, and slowly but surely, I started to enjoy life again. I started dating again, not because I was looking for a rebound, but because I wanted to feel wanted again. And eventually, I met someone. A woman who was kind, funny, and most importantly, honest. She didn't try to change me, and I didn't need to change for her. It wasn't the same kind of love I had with Emily, but it was a healthy, real love. And that made all the difference. I won't lie, there are days when I still think about Emily. There are days when I wish I could have fixed things. But then I remind myself that what she did was unforgivable. She made her choices, and now I'm making mine. To anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let yourself become the fool I was. I'm moving on now, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm finally free.